Okay, guys. So thank you all for joining tonight. We're going to start. Hopefully, people are joining little by little. That's okay. But we're going to get started, okay? So this week's Parsha is Parshat Tzav. And next week's Parsha is Parshat Shmini. Although we have Shabbat of Pesach in the middle where we don't read any of the Parshiyot, we have the Shabbat Chol Hamoed reading. And the interesting part of these Parshiyot is that the way they're split is kind of strange, because the beginning of Tzav continues with the korbanot, the sacrifices, different types of sacrifices that started last week, and then the second part of the parasha goes into the 7 days of the Miluim, the 7 days that started at the end of Adar. We're talking about the end of the first year coming out of Mitzrayim, and going into the 8th day, known as Vayhi Bayom HaShmini, which is the following parasha, and the final day of establishing the Mishkan. And the Torah, based on the way division we have the parashiyot, right, splits that. So this week's parasha ends with the 7 days, and then the 8th day, which is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is in the next week's parasha. So we're actually going to combine kind of this topic, as Shmini will be read right after Pesach. Pesach ends on Thursday night. So we're going to combine these into one, talking about Aaron. So Aaron had a huge part of this, of course, in the process of the 7 days and then the 8th day of the Miluim. And in fact, in Parshat Shmini, right, we'll jump all the way there. So the first source we have over here, Vayomer Moshe Aaron. So Moshe says to Aaron, right, come close to the altar, sacrifice your sin offering, your burnt offering. And then he does it in the next pasuk, Vaykrav Aaron, etc. So it seems pretty simple here. Everything seems to be going well. But interestingly enough, the commentaries start to look at this pasuk. I'm curious, let's throw this out here. Does anybody see something interesting or strange about Moshe's commandment to Aaron? Maybe a bit repetitive. Well, think about it. We're going to scroll down here to Rashi. Rashi says, Karav al mizbeach shehaya Aaron bosh v'yarei lageshet. So Rashi points out that Moshe comes along and says something. Amar le Moshe, lama tebosh, l'chach livcharta. Those are following in the English, right? Aaron was a little bit bosh. He was a little bit shy. He was a little bit scared to get close, diffident. Moshe says to him, why are you being bosh? Why are you being shy? Why are you being diffident? This is what you've been chosen for. Come close. What brings the Midrash? Rashi's quoting a Midrash. What brings the Midrash to make this explanation about the Pasuk? The Siftei Chachamim, one of the commentaries, Rabbi Shabtai Bass, a 17th century scholar who often explains what was bothering Rashi or what's happening in the Pasuk that deserves this attention. He points out, Aaron is ashamed because it is not written, Moshe said to Aaron, perform the services of your sin offering. Why did Moshe need to say approach the altar? In other words, it's a bit repetitive. Why does he have to say, come close and make the chatat? Just say, make the chatat, or bring the chatat. Furthermore, it already says earlier in the Pesukim, and bring them before Hashem. There seems to be some extra words there of come close and do the da-da-da. Why? Why the need for that? So based on that, the Midrash says, you know why? Because Aaron was having some second thoughts. Aaron was thinking in his mind, something was bothering him. So Moshe stopped and said to him, what's going on here? Lama tabosh, right? This is what you've been chosen for. Come and do it. Now, I have a couple of questions. Maybe you're thinking about these. One is, what was bothering Aaron? What was in his mind that prevented him or gave him those second thoughts of coming to do the offering? It's the 8th day. It's time to get to work. Second of all, what is Moshe's response? He's saying, Put your feelings away. Whatever you're feeling and thinking right now, forget. This is what you're. Come on, get going.
From the issue.
I always remember for people telling me whenever, right, you try, somebody says to you, oh, I'm not feeling, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling this. And you say to them, well, come on, just feel better. Just be happy. Right? Yeah, be happy. It doesn't work like that. You can't tell me how to feel. So what is Moshe responding? I can't just hide my feelings, Aaron's going to say back to him. So let's look at the source, right? Which is a midrash. We have a sifra here in the Shmini. The Mechelta bringing what Aaron was thinking. Others say Aaron perceived the altar as an ox and was frightened by it. Whereupon Moshe said to him, my brother, don't be afraid. Draw near. I'm going to read this, it should say, Hages da'atcha v'karev elav. We're going to talk about that soon. I want to leave those words in Hebrew for a second. But this is sharing the information here is important. That Aaron, in his own mind, right? Something is in his mind, and that is that the Mizbeach, the altar, resembles and brings back memories of the golden calf. The golden calf that he was a part of, apparently still stuck in his mind, maybe stuck in his feelings and his emotions as well, and it's getting at him. And he has those flashbacks, and he can't. Something is really bothering him about one of his past experiences that he knows that he was very involved in. Let's take this a step further, a little bit more information. So first of all, here are some psukim that show Aaron's involvement. Right, this is from Parashat Tisa that we read not too long ago, that this the famous story of the golden calf, and we see here clearly, right, that Aaron was involved. People gathered against Aaron and said to him, come, make for us a God who shall go before us. So the man Moshe brought us up from Egypt. Do you know what happened to him? Aaron said to them, take off the gold rings. We're not going to get into right now into the whole, the intentions and what he meant and what happened. But the point is, it's clear that Aaron was very involved in it. This he took from them and cast it in mold. And this is all done by Aaron. So the Ramban, Nachmanides, on the same pasuk, jumps in the party as well. And he comes along and says, well, let me explain to you a little bit more of what's going on here. The reason for this is because Aaron was holy to Hashem, and he had no sin besides the sin of the golden calf. Consequently, the sin of the golden calf was foremost in his thoughts. As it is said, this is by King David, with the Melech, right? My sin is before me always. This is the famous psalm that he says after the episode with Bathsheba. Therefore, it seemed to him as though the form of a calf was preventing his atonement. So Ramban is explaining that Aaron felt that, he was pretty good, usually. He had one big mistake that kept on bothering him. That was the golden calf. And it was always still in his mind till at least some point where he gets close and he's bringing an egg. The Torah says he's bringing, right, a calf. He's bringing animals that maybe that's a flashback, or the Mizbeach, or the service. Something is causing him to have those thoughts and bringing him back to that. We don't know exactly what it was, but that's not the point. The focus of the Midrash, obviously, is the fact that Aaron is having those thoughts. And Moshe says, firm your resolve, Ramban says, which means the way that Rambam has it, that's why I said, Hages da'atcha in Hebrew, he's translating as firm your resolve, right? Meaning, don't give up, continue what you're doing, continue what you're supposed to be doing, and do not be so humble, for Hashem has already accepted your deeds. I'm going to offer a little different translation towards the end, but right now it seems like Moshe is telling him, he's not just telling him, okay, I'm going to tell you to change your feelings. Perhaps you're having these second thoughts, but you should know that Hashem has forgiven you. We're going to take a step a little bit deeper now into the psychology here, and hopefully go into the positive psychology of Aaron. what appears to me over here is that Aaron is going through an episode which is unique because he is somebody who is so compassionate and so full of love and peace that we always talk about Aaron, Ohev Shalom, V'Odev Shalom in Pirkei Avot. The Midrashim talk about how he would get people back together who would fight, and he would say to them, you know, your friend really feels sorry. And he would go to the other person and say, you know, your friend really feels bad at what he did, and bring them back together. He would do the same for couples, husband and wife. And somebody who really felt the pain of others and was really compassionate of others, and he was always pursuing peace. But the interesting thing is here, he actually appears to lack compassion for himself. Somebody who was so compassionate for others, when it comes to a situation where he makes a mistake, he's so hard on himself, right? This could be true with some of us, many of us, all of us, none of us. I can speak for myself, though. I know this happens to me sometimes, right? We expect so much about ourselves. In some ways, it's easier to be nice to others, to be compassionate to others, be polite to others. But we expect, like, okay, I'm batting 1,000. There's no way I'm striking out on this one, right? If it's me up at last game, and that's good. Last week we spoke about strengths, and we should recognize our strengths. But when we make a mistake, or we fail, or things aren't as we expected, then we're so tough with ourselves. But if it was somebody else, like, he would say, okay, you did a great job, like, it's not a big deal, calm down, it's like, you were amazing, think of all the positives. We do that with others, with our friends, our spouses, our siblings, but to ourselves, sometimes we don't. Like, we're so hard on ourselves. And apparently Aaron's being really hard on himself. He can't get off of this mistake that he was involved in. So I want to introduce you, maybe you've seen this before, but Dr. Kristen Neff. So she has brought to us one of the most beautiful things that at least I really appreciate in positive psychology, called self-compassion. And that is something which is really important and I think ties into our topic of the parasha. So we'll read a little bit here what she says. The definition: having compassion for oneself is really no different than having compassion for others. Self-compassion involves acting the same way towards yourself when you are having a difficult time, fail, or notice something you don't like about yourself. Instead of just ignoring your pain with a stiff upper lip mentality, you stop to tell yourself, this is really difficult right now. How can I comfort and care for myself in the moment? Instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing yourself for various inadequacies or shortcomings, self-compassion means you are kind and understanding when confronted with personal failings. After all, who ever said you were supposed to be perfect? We don't expect others to be perfect, so who said that you need to be perfect? You may try to change in ways that allow you to be more healthy and happy, but this is done because you care about yourself, not because you are worthless or unacceptable as you are. Perhaps most importantly, having compassion for yourself means that you honor and accept your humanness. We really have to accept that we are humans ourselves. Things will not always go the way you want them to. You will encounter frustrations, losses will occur, you will make mistakes, bump up against your limitations, fall short of your ideals. This is the human condition, a reality shared by all of us. The more you open your heart to this reality, instead of constantly fighting against it, the more you were able to feel. So one of the first, somebody want to say something? One of the first things that we have to really acknowledge, right? The more you feel able to feel compassion for yourself and all your fellow humans in the experience of life, is that this is part of life. And that just like for other people, I don't expect them to be perfect. I know my friends are not perfect. And I still love them. And I still have compassion for them. And that's part of life. So too for ourselves. We need to be able to apply that to ourselves as well.
Ariel's holding him.
And Aharon, essentially, yeah. Just a reminder, if you are not asking a question or a comment, please have your phones and computers on mute.
Yeah,
Thank you.
he's not on that side.
So
That's so sweet.
the big question over here is, what is Aaron going to do? Well, right now he needs Moshe's help, and that
I think
his brother is helping him. So we're going to get to there soon.
um,
I want to also get to some Chassidut, as that's a big part of the class as well. Let's see, first of all, another important thing, which is also some of the benefits and why self-compassion is so important beyond just not keeping us back and allowing us to do things because we are not constantly sitting in the pain of our mistakes or having us with the flashbacks keeping us what we could be doing and applying our strengths, but beyond that. So additional researchers have shown that it has an impact on your physical health and stress, anxiety. Although self-compassion has been firmly established as an asset for a wide range of desirable psychological outcomes, this study adds, there's another study here, that's the growing evidence that it has benefits for physical health. When you're hard on yourself and it's a constant thing sometimes, then it could actually impact your health. Especially in days where we're talking about, health and how we're trying our best to do the mitzvah of guarding our lives right now and be healthy, right? Psychology, but also Hasidut talks a lot about the fact that there are physical contributions to our health, meaning, of course, germs and viruses and things that we have to be careful of and guard ourselves, and to eat properly and healthy balance and healthy in terms of getting our exercise, but it's also our feelings, our emotions, our spirituality. Those all tie in as well, right? Our psychological well-being, our mental well-being, the mental well-being and the spiritual well-being, they all connect also to the physical well-being. So this is one of those issues too, for constantly really, I would say, hurting ourselves because we are not having self-compassion. It could also take away from physical health. The more we apply it, the more benefits for physical health it can provide. These benefits appear to accrue primarily through the reduction in perceived stress that occurs when people respond to their personal failure, struggles, and difficult circumstances with a kind and forgiving attitude, just like we would do for others. And secondly, through increased engagement in health-promoting behaviors.
no, you're still on.
Let's
Well,
go over here now to a pasuk from Mishlei. Mishlei Tuvim, Proverbs. A famous pasuk, I believe, right? In English, 7 times the righteous man falls and gets up, while the wicked are tripped by one misfortune. Ki sheva yipol tzadik v'kam u'rishaim kashlu v'ra'ah. Lot to say about this pasuk, but I want to get into some of the Hasidic concepts here. One from the Be'er Maim Chaim and one from the Likutei Halachot. So, just in general, this pasuk is a reminder about the fact that we fall, and we fall many times. Sheva is not just a random number. The Maharal talks about the importance of numbers, that numbers are symbolic for different things. Sheva is Teva, 7 is nature. The world was created in 7 days, meaning that it's natural, it's part of life that we fall, we make mistakes. But the emphasis is in Vakam, we get up. Rishaim kashlu v'ra'ah. But there's a difference between that because the wicked are tripped by one misfortune. And the wicked doesn't necessarily only have to mean like people who are wicked, it also means that people who don't take the opportunities to get up, fall back, get up, fall back. Just one time is it? And they can't get away from that one time that they fell. The Be'er Maim Chaim, this one, I think Tali, my wife, were translating this one for us. Great translating skills. 7 times the righteous man falls and gets up, meaning all those 7 falls are actually considered as rising. as they did not fall, but to rise as a result of the falling. Meaning, what the Be'er Mayim Chaim here is including in this pasuk and really putting the emphasis, it's not just like the pasuk is saying that we fall and we get up and the importance of being able to get up, but the falls themselves are actually considered as rising. The yirida, the falling, that is part of growth. He brings a mashal, a metaphor, is like a person who wishes to throw an item upwards. He crouches and lowers himself and brings his right arm backwards in order to throw the item with vigor, so we'll go higher and farther. And so this is the manner when they fall all the way down to earth. But as low as they fell, so will rise up to the heavens. Right? Just like somebody, when you want to throw really far, you pick your arm back and you go down to come back up. That you're going down is not a bad thing, essentially, meaning it's part of the throw. You're essentially going to go higher up because of that lowering yourself. In other words, it's all part of the kima. The Be'er Mayim Chaim is explaining that this is all part of our aliyah, of our uphill growth. I want to continue with the Likutei Halachot. This is Rabbi Natan of Bresel. This is one of Rabbi Nachman we saw last week, so one of his famous disciples. And this one's in Hebrew. A lot of fascinating things. I'll try my best to translate it and then hopefully connect everything back together and go back to Aaron and Moshe and the Ramban about the term that he used before, and which I wanted to conclude with. So this is actually referring to Parsha Ba'alotecha, which is involving Aaron, right? Where Hashem is commanding him to light the menorah and the Mishkan, which has 7 candles, right? There are 7 nerot. Again, the 7. So now he explains, because these 7 candles, they have to bring light to the darkness, which is included in the 7. Shemisham kol nefilot shebaolam chas v'shalom, b'vchina ki sheva yipol v'tzadik v'kam, our pasuk. Right? We're not getting onto all the Kabbalistic terms now, but there are 10 attributes, and there are 7 with main ones, the first ones within the 10. But there's a lot of negativity, a lot of choshech, darkness in the world. And these 7 branches, these 7 candles of the menorah are representing bringing light to the darkness that could be created in 7 different ways of nefilah, of falling. Now he says something fascinating. I really love this part. One could have made an argument, well, the pasuk in Proverbs and Mishlei is talking about a tzaddik. Okay, so I'm not a tzaddik. There is Rabbi Rothstein Shkoyach. He brought a very nice Torah, and you were talking about how important it is to be able to rise from our mistakes. You're talking about Aaron. You're talking about Kishev Yipol Tzaddik, righteous people. I'm a simple person. So look what he says. Ki kol echad misrael, every single person, nikrat tzaddik, is called a tzaddik. Kamo shekatuv, ve'amech kulam tzaddikim. Right? This is another famous pasuk. Right? Some people say this when they learn Pirkei Avot. Ve'amech, and your entire nation, they're all righteous. In other words, what Rabbi Natan is teaching us, that this applies to everybody. We all have a bechina, we all have an aspect of righteousness within us. This is not just for the highest. This is for everybody. We all have that potential. And especially if somebody really wants to get close to God. And it's almost impossible not to have challenging moments, right? I'm working with high school students, college students, right? One of the things that comes up sometimes is it's really difficult. This is going to be a difficult test, right? And my response is, well, I thought you wanted to be a doctor, right? Like med school is pretty hard too, right? So yeah, things are challenging, but that doesn't mean that we can't work with them and grow through them. In other words, part of growth in any area, including Avodat Hashem, our service of God and getting close to Hashem is going to involve challenging moments. V'chol kiyumo b'chol minei nefilot. And it's also going to include all types of sometimes mistakes and falling and not exactly as what we expected or wanted out of ourselves. So now he's going to bring back us. So how to really battle this? How do we combat this? With this light, Ner Hashem, the candle of God in the Mishkan. So these 7 lights in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, were supposed to represent the lights that remind us of the same pasuk, the opportunities. Yeah, life has the darkness, but life also has the light. It has the opportunity to fall, the opportunity to get back up, and it's that ongoing kind of pattern of growth. Al came in Sheva Shabbatot, Sheva Pamim. We're getting close to Pesach, which we start counting the Omer. Now he connects it to that too. There are Sheva Shabbatot, Sheva Pamim. There's 7, right? We count 7 weeks of 7 days, meaning 7 weeks, 7 times. Again, Sheva, 7. La'alot kol anoflim. Why are we counting so much? Why 7 times 7? La'alot kol anoflim, to bring up all those who are fallen. Al kain tzrichim la'asok la'alot b'bchinat sheva yipol tzadik. Because we really have to work on this concept, reminding ourselves that it's a constant battle. It's a constant reminder to grow and to know that we're going to fall, we're going to get up. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs that help to support them. To bring them close to the Torah. I see we're getting close on time here, so at the very end he ties it into more 7s, Shiva Imi Abinyan, right? The 7 days of the getting the Mishkan and also later on with Shlomo getting the Beit HaMikdash ready. Shiva Imi Bereshit, the 7 days of creation. V'akol b'koch tzadikei emet, and he ties it also to the fact that we have another 7 who remembers from Sukkot, the Ushpizin, right? Or also known as Shiva Roim, the 7 shepherds, right? The 7 shepherds. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and etc. In other words, if I could wrap this all together and really base, I would say this time, I flipped it, the positive psychology first, then the Chassidut. So if the positive psychology is telling us the importance of self-compassion and how we should really look at ourselves the way we look at others, just like we're compassionate on others, we should really also with ourselves, and how important that is for our health, and our well-being, and our mental well-being, our physical well-being. The Chassidut provides us, I think, a step deeper. It's not just that too, but it's also about the fact that that's really the part of growth. Meaning knowing that not only when I make a mistake, it's okay, I want to be compassionate on myself just like others, which is, again, that's great. That's we saw in the positive psychology, that's really the first step. But Chassidut is telling us more than that. In some ways, we need the mistakes. That's what's going to help us grow. Ein tzaddik b'al nisayon. The Talmud says that a true tzaddik is somebody who really is able to admit their mistakes, recognize it, and say, wow, I can really learn from it and grow further and go deeper. And the concept that we saw now that applies to everybody and is an ongoing thing. So if I can tell myself on a deeper level, you know what? Not only is it okay that I wasn't perfect, not only is it okay that, I made a mistake or I didn't, hit that home run. They were counting on me. It was the last at bat in the game and I could have done it, but okay. But not only okay, but I can take this to a place where I'm going to learn what went wrong. What can I do next time? How can I improve my swing? What are things that I could do? Because if that didn't happen, maybe I would have stayed the same. But now I'm going to look at different ways to improve my batting and talk to my coach and figure out ways to, when these things happen, they get us moving and they get us to understand what we need to do to grow. So let's reconnect this now and finish up with the Ramban again. So Moshe said to Aaron, okay, you're having these thoughts. You're having a little bit of a challenge now of lack of self-compassion. The Ramban used the word hages dadcha. I know that in Hebrew, the word gas could also mean like wide or big. So this is my little idea here, as perhaps what he's trying to say is expand, make it bigger, make your thoughts bigger. And it could be two things. A is expand your thoughts. You're so compassionate with everybody else. So Aaron, be compassionate to yourself. Expand your thoughts beyond just people around you, to yourself too. But second of all, right? This what we just saw also now. Expand your thoughts, meaning look at the bigger picture. True, you were involved in the Cheder Egel, but Hashem has forgiven you. That was that Ramban said, meaning that you move past that. You learn from that. Hashem has forgiven you, and now He wants you here. This is what you're chosen for, because you were able to learn from that, to grow, to continue to be such an amazing leader, and that's why you're here today. So look at the bigger picture. Don't always focus. Don't just focus on that little mistake or that thing that didn't go well, because look at the bigger picture. Look where you are today and what you can do. Rabotai, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining. And if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm really happy to take them. Okay, well, if anybody has any questions afterwards, almost all of you know how to reach me. If not, you can ask others. Thank you so much. I want to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom and a Chag Kasher V'Sameach, and that we should be able to remember the power of Aaron. Even Aaron, apparently, had a little bit of chashash. He was worried about his own thoughts, and his younger brother Moshe, came and taught him the power of self-compassion. Take care, Shabbat Shalom.